Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Larry, and today we're going to be doing a radiator on my 2006 Chevy Duramax diesel. We've got a leak, not a profound one, it's kind of weird actually, but it is leaking, so required a new radiator and we're going to do a replacement today. To let you know, we have t-shirts available now, so if you want to support the channel, go ahead and buy a t-shirt, 25% off right now as well. Put that down in the comments, the 25% off code. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment below. Let me know what you think of the video. All right, let's get started. So this is the radiator we're using. It's made by OSC. It's supposed to be real close, or as close to factory for the transmission cooling. So we'll see. Looks quality. A little bit of chipping damage on both top and bottom rails there. Doesn't appear to have affected anything, hopefully. So that's what it is right there, OSC radiators. Its part number was a 2857. I ordered mine from Summit Racing. So on this lower hose, they use this, it's like a spring clip deal. Just pull on it and it releases. Don't necessarily have to take it all the way off. If you just release it, the hose will come out, but that is what it looks like. Just want to pull that out. And then your hose, of course, push it up towards the motor. It'll pop right off the bottom of the radiator here. That's the first thing I'm going to do, so we can just we can get the antifreeze started draining out of this first and get everything disconnected. Get all the panels off, and then I'm going to do the transmission lines last. Well, now that I made an absolute mess draining this antifreeze out, actually, this Rubbermaid tub works pretty good, because now we're going to disconnect this top radiator hose. They make these special tools for doing this. This actually grips onto the clamp. This is like a pair of pliers ran with a cable and a ratcheting lock, so it holds it. These things work awesome. Way better than trying to just use a pair of pliers to do this. Oh, got loose. Pull the hose off. Then you can release it just by squeezing it and release the lock. We got our top hose off. All right, so we're gonna get this top cover off. Use one of these most of the time. Do these things. Pop the center part up, pop the rest of it out. Just like that. And these pieces will separate, just stick them back together. Pop all those out, this lifts right off. Now we're gonna have couple bolts here for the fan shroud, 13 millimeter. Kind of my favorite setup. I like this thing. We have two bolts, and then we've got some clips down on the sides. So you've got the same type of plastic clips that we removed from up here. It's hard to show that with the camera. That's like way down in there. It's hard to get your hand in to even get to them. So just to let you know, you have to get those out. One on this side. So you got your transmission control modules right here. Mine has a broken tab. It used to just clip in and had another one of those plastic things pop in to hold it. I have since mine's been zip tied on. Cut these zip ties to get it off. Still trying to get this thing unplugged. And I want to unplug it, get it out of the way. So anyway, that's your transmission control module. Unplug it. So the lower shroud kind of has little hooks that hook up inside or hook up onto the radiator. lift them up and out. Just lift them up, pivot it towards the motor, it'll pop right out. Use our handy pliers setup again, clamp pliers setup. We have this right here, this hose has to come off yet. It goes to our overflow tank. So again, you just put this on, squeeze down on the pliers. There we go, came right off. All right, so now we're down to the bolts that hold it in. Little tabs here, and right there, right here, and right here. I'm ready to do these transmission lines, and then after that, we can unbolt it, remove it. You got these spring clips right here. So basically, you just push pop it in to reinstall the lines, but to remove the lines, okay, so you just use a pick and unlatch these so you can get your lines out. It's right there how that hooks in. That's what it looks like. So of course the new one here, we'll put these back in so I don't lose them. The new one, they're already in place. So you don't have to worry about it. So I got those popped off so I can pull the training lines out. Okay, I just showed you those retainer clips that are here holding, this is their transmission line, upper one. There's little plastic covers over those so they can't just fall out. So this just pushes back. Not a whole lot to it. It's just a cover right there that goes over these retaining clips, and it stays with the transmission line. So you don't get those with a new radiator. So here again, we got to pull these clips out like I showed. It was that one just fell in the drain pan. Good place for it. Okay. All right, all I did, I just kept wiggling on it, pulling on it. All right, so I decided I'm going to remove this air box to make it easier to get the bottom transmission line. I could probably get in there, but rather than struggle it, so we're going to unplug this little map sensor here. Push down on this, push on the plug, wiggle it off, set it back out of the way. Do our hose clamp here. Pull our hose off. Our air box should come up out of here. And it lifts up out of there. Actually, there's a piece right here that would slide out. And that's why I was trying to slide it that way. That's what was holding it the most. You got to slide it for it to come out. It actually looks like a threaded piece. All right, well, with the air box out of the way, I'm going to do this bottom transmission cooler line. Again, just push the plastic piece back, retainer, and then use your pick and unhook your ring. So see it right there. This camera won't stay focused, but anyway, right there, you just reach around behind this pipe for the intercooler for the turbo. Just reach behind there, you can get a hold of it, wiggle it, and pop it right out. So everything's disconnected from the radiator now. We got to get the bolts out. This top one right here, by the battery on the 13mm socket. Here again, probably easier without the battery in here, but I'm not pulling the battery. So here's what's coming out. So we got 4 of these, 2 on each side. Next one down below here is looks like it's under the ECU. I think you can see the socket ratchet down underneath there. Right here is the ECU. Not bad to get to. I'm gonna get this upper bolt here on this passenger side. Okay, last bolt. Last bolt. Okay, so I think I got the radiator figured out. How to get it out. You had to lift up both sides. The side will only lift up a little bit till it hits that pipe down there. Then if you lift up that side, I got it to come up and out. You got to do both at the same time. Lift and kind of go that way with it as soon as you clear that pipe down there. Now, I'm going to have to remove this because I don't have enough room. The bottom connection for the radiator sticks out quite a ways. So I don't have enough room to get past this, the transmission lines and everything. Well, pop that off. And this again just has those little spring clips. Just pop those off and it will come right off. It's just this one off.
We'll get the top clip off here. and attempt to remove this hose from the top, but it is not going to happen. It has to come off from the bottom first. So I struggled with it here for a while and then gave up, moved to the bottom.
So pull down the inner fender, except for the back part. I just left that. I've got it down enough. It's out of my way. Bunch of those stupid little plastic clips and 2 bolts. So now I think what I'm going to do, because this is the pipe I'm trying to get off to get out of the way, to get the radiator up and out of the way, so I can hold stuff back out of the way, is I think I'm going to unbolt this steel bracket, which is what I mentioned a little bit ago. I thought was this plastic inner fender well, and it's actually a steel bracket. Holds the air cleaner. So this whole piece comes out. It's like 5 bolts, 2 going this way, 3 from up top. So I'm going to remove that next so I can get better access to get this turbo return hose off. So we got this all unbolted here. We got a clip on here holding this line. I'm just squeeze these, push them through. I just normally squeeze them with pliers and needle nose and push them on through.
So I removed the spring clip off of this hose. This is the lower turbo hose, and struggling to get it off down here as well. Kind of same as up top. They don't give you a lot of room, a lot of flex in this hose to get it off. So basically, I'm gonna have to move the camera so I can get in here and get leverage on it to get it off.
So get it off and move the camera. You hold it with 2 hands. And again, lower radiator hose was in my way. Right here, I'd push this lower radiator hose down. So I get it pulled off of here. This is where it come off of. It pulled back once I got the lower radiator hose out of the way. Got it worked around this line. And now it should come off the top. So here's what I ended up with. Wrapped a bungee cord around it. Hooked it back to, there's some holes in the inner fender back there, the metal part. It's got it pulled back out of the way. I took the lower transmission line and actually stuck it in the intercooler. That's keeping it back out of the way. And at the same point, that pushes the upper one back out of the way. So now we should be good to go and get the radiator up out of here without getting caught on anything. Actually doing a lot of this to make it easier to get the new one in, because the last thing you want to do is damage a new one because you get caught hung up on something trying to shove it down in there. So we can get this thing all the way up and out of here now. I think it should come right out, maybe. Hey, look. Yeah, we're still hanging up on something. There we go. That was just that lower mount. I didn't have to tip far enough. This was still getting hooked on the intercooler is what I was struggling against there. Because I didn't tip the radiator far enough, or tip it and pull it that way far enough. You got to do that to get this around that connection that we just removed that pipe from. Here's the radiator after pulling it out. I believe it might be somewhere up here. How it's discolored and just caked with dirt, like it's been wet and collecting the dirt in the fins. The rest of it, it is dirty, but it's all loose dirt that would blow out, wash out. This is really packed in there. Tell it's been wet. So that's where the leak is. Now, next thing we have to do, all of our hardware. The new radiator did not come with these isolators or these top nuts. So these nuts just slide in and out of there also. So that's our next step. Transfer all of that from this radiator to the other radiator. Okay, so now we got to remove these. This is just a metal insert. This is the front of the truck, the grill. So it pulls out that way, and just push your rubber through. Back side, either side, whichever way. take a screwdriver, shove down on it, collapse it. So once you pull that metal piece out, it'll just collapse right down. Just do that to all 4 of them. Then our nut up here just slides in. Right there, square nut. So I just used a pick or whatever, get a hold of it, slide it out of that. So these aren't opened up enough for the nut to fit. For this nut to fit. Like not even close. So I'm gonna go find a hex nut rather than a square nut. See if that's what fits in there, what they designed this for, I don't know. Okay, so I went and found hex nut, the right size, and it fits. So if you buy this radiator, you're gonna have to come up with 2 8mm hex nuts. They do not come with the radiator, and it's not what is in your factory radiator. It could be reused for hardware, so keep that in mind. And if you look at this, it kind of has a groove in it for fitting in a slot. I'm just going to try to make sure I put them back in the same orientation. Make sure you put your metal piece back in. When you bolt it up, it'll actually bolt up tight. So there's one side done. Okay, well, I just stuck the radiator back in. Just realized camera wasn't recording. I thought I hit record, it was not. So just the opposite of how I took it out. That's all you got to pay attention to. And I'll show you one other thing here with the lower shroud that is kind of a pain in the butt for getting it in. But basically it's the same thing. You have to tip. You have to tip the driver's side down to get the lower mount underneath of the intercooler tube. And as soon as it goes under, you have to drop the opposite side, the driver's side in. Because if you let this side drop too far, then this side's going to hit on the intercooler tube on the other side. So it's just a matter of, you got to take it out the same way. You got to lift up the driver's side first, and over and up, and it went down in the same way. So not bad, other than I'm going to show you here real quick the only thing that did cause me a problem trying to put it back in there, and how I got around that. So I guess at this point we have to show everything, because we're just reversing the process of what we did. Putting your bolts back in. 4 bolts holding it in. Hook your hoses, transmission lines back up. Everything now just push locks in because of the clips are in there. So the only issue I had dropping the radiator in, so just watch how I took it out, how you have to angle it. It's gonna be the same thing. Except the only thing I ran into was the connector for the radiator down there that sticks way out for the lower connection. Kept wanting to ride inside of this radius of the lower fan shroud. Every time I tried dropping it in, it wanted to ride inside there. And the farther down you go, you're never getting it out. It gets wedged. So take this lower shroud, shove it all the way driver's side as much as it'll go, and then just sneak that past. It'll go past, maybe a little bit of wiggling around, but it'll drop past it and stay on the outside of the shroud, and then it'll go down in. If you don't do that, it's not going to go. It's just going to hang itself up inside that lower fan shroud. We'll get the bolts put in the radiator, get it tightened up here. Okay, putting transmission lines back in. I just did the bottom one. Another spot where you can't get a camera in and work at the same time. They're pretty hard to pop in. So I already put oil on the O-ring with my finger, because there is an O-ring inside of here. So I went to oil up the O-ring and the tube. Try to get the slide in better, and so you don't damage the O-ring. But you just got to push it in until you hear it click, pop. Take some leverage. There we go. And you hear it pop. Just wiggle it around, make sure it's in there good, seated.
Don't forget your plastic covers that go over these clips after you pop your lines in. I didn't get that on video.
So we've got the bolts tightened up in the radiator. I've got the transmission lines back on. Next I'll probably do the lower radiator hose back on. We got to get this turbo pipe back in. And again, they all just use these like spring wire clips, and it all just snaps together. So just remember, when I took this off, you have to get the bottom off first. You can't get the top out, there's not enough room. So you're going to want to put the top back on first and then the bottom on. Just reverse everything that was done. Let's take it apart. Let's get everything connected back up. Got the Got the hose back on for the turbo, for the intercooler. That is, you have to have it just right to get it shoved up in there and put that on. It's a little difficult. The overflow hose back on. Upper radiator hose is back on. Now I'm getting ready to put the air cleaner back in. Oh yeah, I put that bracket back in. That was the other thing. Probably start filling it up. I don't have the upper shroud on yet, but that's okay. I'll probably just start filling it up so we can try to work some of the air out of this. So install this new radiator and started filling up with coolant, and it started running out of the lower hose connection. Like kind of running out, not just dripping. So put the pan back under it, drained out what I had in it, about a half a gallon. And it's an O-ring seal with that spring clip set up. So I pulled the O-ring out, and it's not a round O-ring anymore. It's pretty flat. So I found that, I guess this is somewhat of an issue with this O-ring. It's a silicone. And I'll give more details about it here, but found that Dorman offers one. Part number 926-160. Local O'Reilly's had one, so I went and picked it up. But it looks way fatter. So I don't know, this thing must have really shrunk down a lot while it was in there, time that it's been in there. So we'll see. Put it in, we'll see if it fits. Find out how this goes. But the O-ring itself is, it's a standard from what I've found. Just taking my measurements, looking it up. It's 2-inch ID, 2 1/4 inch OD, 0.139 cross section. So see how this one fits. So here's the O-ring installed into the lower radiator hose. I'm holding it out with a bungee cord so I can see what I was doing. It's a little difficult to get it worked in there, but I got it worked in there, so let's see if it fits. Going back onto the radiator right there. Hey, so here we are with this O-ring situation. So I bought this Dorman 926-160 is supposed to be the one for this lower radiator hose connection to the radiator. It is not. It is way fat. If you look, that's the Dorman. This is a standard 226 O-ring that I purchased off of Amazon. Pack of 10 was half the price of the Dorman O-ring. There's the part number. I'll put a link in the comments, or I'll put a link in the description for the Amazon where I purchased it. Here's the original O-ring, which is now not an O-ring. It's not round. It's flat. So we're going to install this O-ring right now into the lower radiator hose and put it back together. I tried this fat one from Dorman. You couldn't shove that thing on there. I tried lubricating it, and it's like, there was no way. It's not right. It's way too fat. ID is correct. The OD is not, because it's a thicker O-ring. So how this works, when you look up O-ring cross sections, there's different diameters of the O-ring itself, and this is a 0.139, which comes out to a 226, and that's what we're going to install. So another O-ring option for a lower radiator hose is Merchant Automotive. Price on their parts isn't bad. Shipping is really expensive. So I ordered this just as well, just to find out what they had, because I heard, read, it says there's two different size O-rings. I've heard that the smaller O-ring is the correct one, the larger one is not, which is correct. The large one is the same one that Dorman sells that is never going to work. The smaller one is slightly fatter than the measurement I got off the original and what I ordered, the standard 226. The standard 226 is supposed to be 0.139 inch, as it says right there. This one is about 0.149, 0.51-ish. So it's a little fatter. I've already put mine back together before this came. Well, it was supposed to be here yesterday when the other ones came, but it did not. So I just went ahead and put it back together. I've already been driving it. Finished it up this morning, already been out driving it. And topping off the coolant, topping off the transmission fluid, everything else from changing out a radiator. So I did not get to try this. I know people that have, and they said that it works. I'd be curious if it's a little hard to push on since it's a little fatter. But anyway, there's your options. So here's the O-ring installed into lower radiator hose. And all you do is push it on. So I got it pushed on, locked in. So we'll put some coolant in it, see if it leaks now, like it did with the flat O-ring. Okay, now once you start adding coolant, you gotta pull this vent bolt out here. It's a 12mm socket. What this does is it vents the air out. If you remove this, you add coolant till it starts coming out of this hole, and then put it back in. Just remove that. It's got a rubber gasket on it. So that'll allow your air to come out at your thermostat. So I just keep slowly adding coolant. You can hear the air in there bubbling. It'll come back up out of the reservoir as well as coming out this end. It keeps from trapping air inside of there. So just added a second gallon. We're up to about, I'm gonna have to mix up another gallon. I've got the concentrate, so grab another gallon of distilled water and another gallon of antifreeze, and it'll make us up 2 more gallons. That's it. It's coming out, bubbling. Pushing air so far. Don't have actual fluid yet. Getting there. Alright, we got steady fluid running out. So we'll put this back in. Tighten that back up. Alright, so we got everything buttoned up, all done, taken care of, everything put back together. Been out driving it, no issues, everything's good. So that wasn't a bad deal. All taken care of. Ready for some more towing trips. Alright, that concludes this video. We put the radiator in the 2006 Chevy Duramax here. Didn't go too bad. Getting it in and out is a little bit of a maneuver. Other than that, it was a pretty easy job. Learned something about the O-ring on the lower hose. It's good to know. Passed on all the information that I have on that. So, alright, like, subscribe, share. Take care. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.